So here we are in the backyard. I'll do a quick scan and then we will start with that fig that's right in the middle there, but I'll continue the scan over here. The playhouse I think you've seen. Oh, and the cold frame I built, Patty, that she really likes.
It is super cool.
Uses for seed starting mainly, but
this
right
time of
now
year I use it for drying things because it gets very hot in here.
So that was a I think birthday present.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the fig.
All right, so yeah, this is our Black Mission fig, and figs don't like to have neighbors, so you can see it's on a bed pretty much all by itself. It's doing very well this year. I think this is year 4, and you can see, if Todd gets a little bit close up, you can see all the figs that we have coming on. Figs are a fall fruit, so we should be fat with figs in September, late September.
Oh, I love figs.
Okay, so essentially I've divided the yard into 4 beds. This is what I refer to as bed 3. We'll get to that in a minute. So the playhouse, I think you know about. I built that essentially to house all of my garden stuff.
More lavender, right there.
No, this is called Mexican
Oh,
sage.
right, of course, I knew that.
This is a favorite of hummingbirds, which is really fun, and big black bumblebees. That's also fun.
That's right, that's right.
And you can see I have in here my little glass bee, and that's to indicate that we're getting into bee territory. So if you come back here, this tree is called a 5-in-1. It has 5 different kinds of stone fruit on it. It has peach, nectarine, plum, puat, and apricot. We have harvested everything except the plums, and there's only 2 because I think squirrels or raccoons or somebody got to it. We had so much fruit on this tree this year. You can see right here, we actually, a branch broke, and I suddenly had 9 pounds of nectarines that had to be processed quickly. So we made nectarine leather, nectarine jam, and some killer nectarine ice cream.
Oh man, that was good.
It was really good. So if we come back here, this is the bee zone. So here are the 2 hives. They are happy and busy. I don't know how close Todd is going to get, but essentially the bees live in here, and this is basically where I'm having them produce honey, and there's a whole technical way that I do that, but in another month or so I will take these boxes off and harvest honey, so we should get, given that much, probably 15 or 20 pounds of honey out of that, which will be great. So we sell that, we use it for granola, we eat it, Christmas gifts, we have a million uses for it.
It is so good.
And then I also take the wax and make a very nice lip balm that's pretty popular. I sell that also. And so next is candles and things like lotion. So I haven't learned how to do that yet, but I will.
I use that lip balm every day and love it. Okay.
So there's the bees, and they're busy.
Right. There's a bird bath with some flowers.
So the bird bath is really the bee bath. It's there. It's on a natural watering system, so it fills every couple of days. And you can see that it has little floaty things in it, and that's because the bees will come down the side of it, but it's a little too steep for them. So what they do is they'll get on the piece of wood and drink that way. So they need to have water. So down here we have a row of artichokes. Artichokes are a spring and sometimes fall crop. So they come up in the spring. We had our artichokes in April, and then we cut them back. And then sometimes they will come back up in the fall and produce a second crop. And you can see this one on the end actually did produce, but I am having a pretty tough battle right now with ants and aphids, and they won this year, so we pretty much lost the artichoke crop. But I will persevere and vanquish them somehow, someday. So this is actually about to bloom. So it will be a gigantic purple flower. You can see all the ants in there. It's because they plant aphid seeds or aphid eggs, and then they harvest them. So ants actually farm. And unfortunately, artichoke is apparently one of their favorite things to farm. So I'll beat it one of these days.
We got some orange oil that might help with that.
Why don't we just, since we're up here, let's just keep going this way.
Okay.
So these are blackberries. They look nothing like blackberries you grow in Washington or Oregon, as you can see, mostly because it's so hot here. What happened this year, we actually had a pretty good crop last year, but this year we had a pretty nasty heat wave right as they were coming on. It was 103, 104, 105 right as it was ripening, so it just shot them. This is a structure that we built to take the berries. It's not really working the way we had planned, so I think we're going to have to rethink this one. And then the second, that's actually a marionberry, and it was planted on a very aggressive stalk, so we're now having a classic northwest problem. I'm having little blackberry or marionberries coming up all over the place. So that plant is coming out as soon as it finishes giving me fruit. Here are a couple of more blueberries. These are actually happier, as you can see, and I think it's because they get a little more shade. The ones in front I think will be fine once the root structure more fully develops. Don't trip, there's a... This bed is what I call bed 1, and this year it's planted in legumes, this bed. So legumes are beans and peas primarily. Mostly this year I planted dried beans, so these are cannellinis. These are are called hadopsis. Carol got me hadopsis seeds. Hadopsis is a Native American tribe, and she got these seeds a couple years ago, and I keep reseeding them, so they're nice. These are black beans. These are called a bingo. Now the reason these are all so punky looking is really because they're done for now. So what will happen is I will pull these out probably in the next week and then replant them. So we'll get 2 full crops. So I won't plant them in the same place. I'll move the cannellinis over, I'll move the black beans over, so they have a slightly different soil to work with. And then if you want to go around the corner here, one of the things that happens, maybe Todd you can show this right here, one of the things that happens is we put up this structure which comes to here and really should have been enough for these beans, but they are so happy either with the soil or whatever that they started to go even further. So I ended up sort of jury-rigging this metal structure that's not the strongest thing on the planet, but it was just something to keep it growing. So
it looks like it worked.
A learning for me. It did work pretty well. Pretty well. And then in here we have more beans that are, again, they're about done. The umbrella in the middle had peas on it that we were eating in July, which is practically unheard of in this part of the world. Peas are usually done in about April, but, you know, with the weather being so crazy.
And that was completely covered, right?
That was completely covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that, so that's the legume bed. Those beans are Blue Lake, and they're also about done. As it happens, we don't love Blue Lake as much. Blue Lakes are green beans, and what we have instead is these purple beans.
And the Blue Lake is on the other umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what we have instead is these purple beans. These are called Scarlet Runners.